Well, I have a packed video for you here in this one, a lot of stuff to get to. And let's start with the Kansas City Royals, as they surprisingly completed the sweep against the Houston Astros at home on Thursday, as they nearly dropped a 9 spot in the first. Now, the scoring started via a string of RBI singles from Vinny Pasquantino that scored Michael Garcia and Bobby Witt. A Nelson Vasquez single plated Pasquantino. And finally, a Nick Lofton single plated Vasquez. It was 5-0 KC after just 2/3 of an inning pitched from Hunter Brown. Now, the bleeding did not stop there, as Bobby Witt Jr. stepped up to the plate for the second time in that inning and sent a ball into the Royals bullpen to extend his team's lead by 9 runs. Now, the Royals also were shining on defense in this game, as a ground ball off the bat of Victor Tarantini that went to the right of the second base bag confused Bobby Witt Jr. and Nick Lofton. Now, it would be Bobby Witt who fielded that ball in play, and he had to duck in the process as Lofton hurtled over him. The 23-year-old, he stayed with it, and he made the play, getting his man via a strong throw to first base. The Astros did end up scoring 3 runs in this game, as their second and third runs of the ball game both came in the 6th inning. Mauricio Dubon, he smacked an RBI single to the grass and right. This plated the shortstop Jeremy Pena. Yordan Alvarez, he walked with the bases drunk. Victor Tarantini scored, making it 9-3 Royals. Now, any hopes of a Houston comeback was short-lived, as Bobby Witt Jr. cranked his second home run of the game, giving KC a Baker dozen worth of runs. Now, the Royals won the game 13-3, and overall the Royals in this series scored a combined 28 runs, while Houston only mustered 8. The Royals straight up owned the Astros in this 3-game set. Now, if you think that Royals versus Astros series finale was crazy when it came to the runs, you obviously did not watch the Mets against the Braves down in Atlanta, Georgia, because the Metropolitans, they got off to a 3-0 lead after an inning and a half thanks to Brandon Nimmo as he doubled, and a fielding error made by Orlando Arcia, which allowed Nimmo to score. Then, an inning later, more Mets came across home plate after a pair of doubles from Alvarez and McNeil. Now, the inning was capped off by a DJ Stewart home run that sailed into the right center field seats. It was 7-0 Mets after 2.5 innings. Now, jumping to the Mets half of the 7th is when New York put up double digits on the scoreboard. Second baseman Jeff McNeil plated Lindor and Alonso after stroking a single to right field, making it 10-3 Mets. Now, when Braves fans thought it could not get any worse, it did, in the top of the 9th inning. Now, the Mets essentially stole the Braves' tomahawk and cut them up into little pieces following this Tyrone Tyler grand slam. The game ended with the Mets winning 16-4. Now, the big story of the day, Ippei Mizuhara, aka the gambling addict and thief. He's been charged with bank fraud after a federal investigation revealed he unlawfully transferred more than $16 million from Ohtani's bank account. Mizuhara is expected to appear in the U.S. District Court in downtown LA in the coming days. Now, bank fraud is a felony that carries a statutory maximum sentence of 30 years in federal prison. Ippei, he wired more than 16 million unauthorized transfers from Ohtani's checking account between November 2021 and January 2024. Martin Estrada, the U.S. attorney for the Central District Court of California, said, quote, "I want to emphasize this point. Mr. Ohtani is considered a victim in this case. There's no evidence to indicate that Mr. Ohtani authorized the over 16 million of transfers from his account to the bookmakers." End quote. In 2018, shortly after Ohtani joined the Angels, Mizuhara helped him open a bank account in Arizona, translating for Ohtani while setting up the account. Ohtani's salary was deposited into that account, though he never gave Ippei, whom Estrada said was acting as Mr. Ohtani's de facto manager, control of said account or any of his financial accounts, according to the affidavit. Quote, Mizuhara refused to give access to the account to Ohtani's other professional advisors, including his agent, accountant, and financial advisor, telling them Ohtani wanted to keep that account private, Estrada said. And beginning in September of 21, Mizuhara began gambling with an illegal bookmaker, and according to the affidavit, quote, started losing substantial sums of money. During this time, the contact information on Ohtani's bank account was changed to link the account to Mizuhara's phone number and an anonymous email address connected to Mizuhara. Messages between Mr. Mizuhara and the bookmaker show that he lost considerable money on those bets, but he continued to make the wagers, thousands of wagers over time, Estrada said. The bets do not appear to have been made on the sport of baseball. That is quite interesting. We all thought, right, Ohtani, he's going to gamble on baseball. That this was the whole thing. Yes, it was Ippei making these bets, but I think the fact that the actual federal investigation found Ippei was not making any bets on baseball for Ohtani or for himself erases any suspicions of wrongdoing on the behalf of Ohtani. Great news for Ohtani and his integrity and his public perception. Now, recordings of telephone calls obtained during the investigation revealed that Mizuhara also falsely identified himself as Ohtani while speaking to bank employees on more than one occasion, convincing them to approve the large wire transfers. I would love to know if he was speaking English or if he was speaking Japanese, because if you're the bank, and I know maybe they're not up to date with who Ohtani is, obviously they're just a bank, but if you have a guy speaking English claiming that he's Ohtani on the phone to the bank, wouldn't that raise a red flag thinking, well, wait a second, I thought Ohtani didn't know how to speak English that well and thus needs an interpreter. Why is he speaking English over the phone to the bank? Like, if I was a bank, you're a high-profile guy. You kind of know a lot about the guy, right? So that would make my eyebrows raise if Ippei went on the phone acting as Ohtani speaking in English. It said that Ohtani cooperated fully with investigators, providing access to his cell phone to law enforcement, who determined that there was no evidence that Ohtani was aware of or involved in any of Ippei's illegal gambling activity or payment of his debts. That's fantastic. Estrada said on any occasions that Ippei won his bets, the winnings were not deposited into Ohtani's account, rather into his own personal account. So he's really stealing. Ippei admitted he had stolen money from Ohtani in a text message with one of the bookmakers. Ippei allegedly used some of the account to purchase approximately 1,000 baseball cards for $325,000 via eBay and whatnot.com. This is great news for Ohtani when it comes to his integrity. I mean, I think MLB is still doing their own investigation, but at this point, why? The feds aren't going to find him guilty like they did with Trevor Bauer, but then they're going to somehow, suspend Ohtani for a certain amount of time? No way. If they do that, baseball deserves to die. So that's all I got. Please like, please comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later.